And good morning, everyone. Thanks for being here. Again, my name is Aaron Miller. I am the Director of Programs here at the Leadership Louisville Center. I have a slide deck that I'm going to try to use, but it doesn't seem to be working. Joe, is your slide changing? There it is. Well, I just went like 4 slides ahead. Okay. I think it's working. It's just slow. This is me. I'm Aaron. I'm the Director of Programs here. I'm going to be leading the conversation. Again, as those of you that are just logging in, feel free to leave your call muted and leave your video muted if you want. That's up to you. But we're going to do the Q&A through the group chat feature on Zoom. If you called in and you're not on the webinar, I see a few of you are just on the phone, so you may not be able to see the slide deck. We can share the slide deck later. You can email in any questions you've got, and we will get to those. And I will let Jo introduce herself.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the CAT webinar. I'm Jo Lloyd-Triplett. I am the Leadership Development Manager here at the Center, and I am also available to answer any of your questions with regards to your applications and help you through that process.
Thanks, Jo. So Jo will be on the call here, and she's going to be answering questions in the chat box. So as you have questions as we go along, feel free to fire those off. Some of them we may get to as part of the presentation, but don't hold back any questions you have. So over the next few minutes, we are going to talk to you about the community acceleration teams, what they do, what types of projects have happened in the past, and how you can apply to get an amazing team of participants from a Leadership Louisville Center program to come and help your organization with a strategic goal. So for those of you that are new to the Leadership Louisville Center, we are also a nonprofit. We've been in Louisville since 1979. We're on Main Street. We had a new facility open in 2018, right across from 21C Museum. And we run a variety of different leadership programs and training programs designed to equip leaders to do better and to be better. So we have programs from the flagship Leadership Louisville to the Bingham Fellows to Focus Louisville, which is a kind of a 2.5-day orientation to the city. The programs that would be working with you with our community acceleration teams are our Ignite Louisville and our Encore Louisville programs. And we'll tell you a little bit more about those programs and the different types of projects that they can do. But this is a little bit about us. We also have Leadership Green Room workshops and trainings. Those are 1 or 2 days. For those of you that are alumni, you know a little bit more about us. But for those of you that are not but are interested in participating in programs, do know that we do have scholarships available for nonprofit employees and leaders who are interested in taking part in some of these programs. So if you have any questions about being in a class, you as an individual participating in a program, please let us know. This is not about that. This webinar is about how we can get some participants from these programs to partner with your nonprofit. But if you want to talk about how we could help you get engaged as an individual in the programs, we'd love to do that too. So we're going to talk about these 3 things on this webinar. We're going to talk about the community acceleration teams, what they are, what they do. We'll show you some sample projects, and then a little bit about how to submit a proposal. And again, I'm going to try to run through all this in the vicinity of 40 minutes, and then we'll have time for Q&A at the end. But if you have questions as we go, again, use the chat box feature to submit questions. Joe's working the chat box. And again, for those of you that are just now logging in, feel free to turn on your video if you want. You don't have to. And go ahead and mute the audio, though, if you would. That would be great. Okay, let's dive in. So let's talk about what is a community acceleration team. These used to be known primarily around the community as Ignite Louisville teams, but over the last 3 or 4 years, they have really grown, and it's not just the Ignite program that is taking on these projects for the community. Across our Ignite and Encore programs, we average about 30 different projects per year. And in 2019, we counted up about 5,000 hours were put in by these teams, and a value of nearly $750,000 in terms of the cash and in-kind value to the community. Some of that is fundraising dollars that the organizations got because of the efforts of the team. A lot of that is the value of the time and the in-kind donations that the teams were able to get. Now, these teams are not there to fundraise for you. We'll get to that. So don't think that this is just a group that can that's going to show up and help you get cash. Now, they can indirectly do that. We'll talk more about that as well. The eligibility, a lot of questions about whether or not your organization is eligible to get a team. So as long as you are a 501c3 or a 501c6, which is a lot of chambers of commerce, different business groups, government and educational organizations. So we've had teams work with universities, we've had teams work with city agencies, and there's not a lot of B corporations in Louisville yet, but you are eligible if you are a B Corp as well. You do have to serve the Louisville metro region. That does include surrounding counties, Southern Indiana. So Southern Indiana nonprofits totally eligible to participate. Once you get further than our metro area, it becomes more difficult in terms of having the meetings, but feel free to apply if you're interested, even if you're a little bit of an outlier. These do require active involvement of the CEO or the executive director or president of your organization, support of the board of directors. So unless there is a specific reason that the board should be excluded from knowing about this, should be a collaborative project. We ask that you have not had a team within the last 2 years, unless there was a specific handoff. We have allowed, if you have a team and the work isn't quite complete and they recommend a different team to come in and finish, we have allowed that. But if you had a team last year, you wouldn't be eligible for another year. And then I will tell you that there is a time commitment with this. So if you don't have the time to put in to work with the group, to keep them informed of your progress, to help with them with decision making, then it's not going to be a huge success. So please make sure you know there is a time investment at your end as well. So what do? So they all kinds of different stuff. And again, we'll get into some of the differences between the shorter term projects, which are typically with our Encore Louisville program, and the longer projects from our Ignite program. But a lot of the project work is very strategic. There is work around board development. If your board is not engaged, if your board does not know their role, we've had some great success with our teams working with boards. Organizational and structural challenges, doing pre-work for strategic planning. Now, these teams are not going to be with you long enough to do a full strategic plan. In almost every case, strategic planning is a 9 to 12 month process usually, and the most you would have a team is usually 6 months. So know that full strategic planning is unlikely to be an outcome, but a lot of times they have helped do groundwork so that you can enter into strategic planning with a lot more data, with a lot more groundwork ready to go. They can evaluate existing plans. They can look at a strategic plan you already have that maybe needs some help to be implemented. And some groups have also worked in mentoring and with the leadership of the organization, helping with organizational challenges and things like that. On the other hand, we have teams that can help with marketing and branding, with evaluating events, sometimes creating new events, sometimes helping fix problems in existing events, looking at programs, supporting new initiatives, and planning for growth. We'll give a few examples of projects here in just a minute so you get a sense, but they're all over the place. And we've been doing projects with different groups for 15 years now, so there's every example you could think of in terms of different types of things that have been done. So what don't teams do? Teams don't just come in and fundraise. So if you have a specific dollar amount you're hoping the team will get for you, you're hoping they'll sell tickets to a gala or a 5K or get sponsors, that's not the role of the team. Now, sometimes, again, if it's a marketing or a branding exercise, they can help you do the groundwork to be more successful in your fundraising, but they're not going to knock on doors. And anything that you would have interns doing. So these are much more experienced community leaders. So they're going to be looking to take on challenges and solve problems and not just help with the work that needs to get done today, which I know is vital. Every one of us in the nonprofit business has a billion things we could use help with, but these teams, think of them as more like a think tank. Think of them more as a task force, a group that's going to come in, assess a challenge or an opportunity, help come up with a solution for it, and then help you get on the path to working it through. Question in the chat box, will these slides be available? Yes, we will make a PDF and send these out. So what's the length of time? It depends on the type of community acceleration team that you would get. And we, as a organization, as Leadership Louisville, work with our alumni to determine what is the most appropriate team to work with your organization. So you don't need to worry about whether you're asking for an Ignite team or an Encore team. You just need to tell us what the opportunity or the issue is, and we'll figure it out. If it's more of an advisory team, that's a 3-month project. Those start in January, April, July, or October. So this period right now, we're taking applications, are to feed projects that would start in April or July. So if you apply today, you might be invited to present to the classes in April or July for the short-term projects, or April for the longer-term projects. And then again, the longer-term one is a 6-month project. It would start in April and finish up by October. All right, next one. Let me tell you a little bit about the 2 different programs so you get a sense. Now, Ignite Louisville is a 6-month-long program. So the longer program that we were just talking about, the longer project, would come from the Ignite program. These are emerging leaders. These are the 25 to 45-year-old, a couple promotions into their career and doing great and have been identified as high potential. They're going to have a little bit less experience serving on boards, working with nonprofits, but there's usually a healthy amount of that. There's also usually a healthy amount of folks that work in the nonprofit industry in this program. So this class starts in April, starts in October. They do the project work outside of class time. Encore is for our very seasoned community leaders. So these are folks, some of them may be retired, some maybe have transitioned from their primary career. And they tend to have decades of experience working on boards, working with nonprofits, helping solve problems in their business, and as engaged members of the community. This class is a year-long program. There's about, I think there's 47 in this year's group. And they take on 3-month projects. So once a quarter, they meet as a group and take on new project work. The Ignite teams, the longer term teams, are more like 7 or 8 people. The Encore teams are more like 3 to 5 people, just so you get a sense of how many folks you would be working with. I see some questions coming in there. For those of you that might have joined a few minutes late, I'm Aaron, and then Joe Lloyd Triplett is here from the Leadership Louisville Center as well, and she is taking questions. Joe, if you want to chime in if there's a question you want to just answer instead of typing something, feel free to interrupt me and take one of the questions. So here's a little bit of a sense of the teams. With Ignite Louisville, it is a contest. So there are 6 teams working at any one time, and they have to make a presentation at the end of their experience to show the outcomes, to show the deliverables. With Encore, it doesn't need to be a contest. They sign up for this program because they love helping the community. In the case of Ignite, we are using these projects as a way to teach leadership. So this is a skill building activity. They are getting professional development as part of their program days, and then they have to use those professional development skills, whether it's change management, team building, strength finding. They have to utilize the skills they're learning in these projects. With our Encore program, they have decades of giving back, and they just want to keep giving back. So that's the purpose. That is just keeping our transitioning baby boomers engaged in the community, and they're doing it because they love it. I will tell you that the outcomes we've had over the last several years have been amazing. Your results may vary, but let me tell you a little bit about some of the types of projects that have happened. Now, again, I'm picking some of the more successful projects, and we can talk about projects that have challenges as well. This was an Ignite team that was the winner of the contest in 2019. It's called the Ignite Challenge. They worked with the Louisville Youth Group. They helped with some rebranding. They helped redesign their space. The Louisville Youth Group is a center for LGBTQ youth, kind of not want to say a club, but a place, a community is probably the best word for LGBTQ youth in Louisville. They helped develop a marketing plan, helped them with a CRM, helped them with HR policies and an employee handbook. They held a ribbon cutting event with the community, and they also helped recruit new partners to support either financially or in kind with donations. A lot of those donations were as part of the redesign and the rebranding. So they brought about $83,000 in value. That is also including the hours. These teams typically will put in hundreds of hours over the course of the 6 months. So do know there is a time commitment at your end if you partner with one of these teams. So you can see the before and after on how they helped redesign the Louisville Youth Group space. They, again, helped. They put that mural up. They helped with a ribbon cutting event, got the mayor and some local media to attend, and had a great outcome. This is one of our Encore Louisville teams, partnered with a nonprofit called Serenity House, which does amazing work, but has been struggling with some strategic decision-making and some future planning. So the team helped uncover several organizational issues, work with the executive director, worked with the board of directors. They are helping rebuild the board and get some leaders into key roles on the board of directors there. Looked at the financials and uncovered some challenges and really helped put them on a path to sustainability. Here's another one of our 6-month-long project teams. They worked with a nonprofit called Inside the Lines. Inside the Lines is an after-school program helping youth with academic help and sports training. And it's kind of the sports training is the carrot that they dangle to get the kids to do better academically. They helped this nonprofit find a permanent location, helped them narrow what they were doing. They were trying to help kids at all age levels, and they helped them focus. Worked on financials, helped them do some hiring, helped with media contacts, held a golf scramble, and also worked on a handbook for the board of directors. So lots of ground level work. And again, I said you do have to have a 501c3, and that is required. But some of the nonprofits they have worked with are earlier in their lifespan. But we have plenty that have worked with nonprofits that have been in Louisville for 30, 40, 50, even 100 years in the case. There's a team working right now with Metro United Way. A team has worked with Volunteers of America, American Red Cross, you name a size of nonprofit, and we've had teams working with them. Here's another sample of one of our shorter term task force projects. A team worked with the Louisville Cardinal student newspaper at U of L, came in, did an evaluation. They have some budgetary issues. There was funding cuts. So they helped them increase or help them with suggestions on how to reduce costs, increase revenue, increase visibility. They also helped them work on job descriptions for paid staff and suggested some revisions to the board bylaws and the board governance. So that's a few samples of projects that have been completed. Those are all in the past year, I believe. Is that correct, Joe?
Yes.
Okay, all from the past year. So again, those are some of the more successful ones, and there are no projects that are not successful. So let me clarify that. But depending on how deep the challenges are, given the time restrictions, 3 to 6 months is sometimes not time to get as much done for every organization. And it's really incumbent upon the partners to get the team in the doors, make them love your mission as much as you love your mission so that they can partner with you to get as much done in the time frame as they can. The Leadership Louisville Center is always a resource during this process if there are issues or opportunities, but for the most part, these are self-directed teams that would be pairing with your organization to work on the project over the time frame. All right, keep throwing questions into the chat room as you have them. Let's talk a little bit about submitting a proposal. So what is the process? Now, it is open right now to submit a proposal. We do it twice a year, so if you don't know if you're ready right now, we'll do it again late in the summer. There is one form to submit for a community acceleration team project. Don't worry about whether you think you need a 3-month project or a 6-month project. We have teams of alumni that read the proposals and direct them to the right place. You might want to think about the timing of the project. So if there is some specific reason why a April start works better than a July start, or maybe an October start works best, just make sure you put that in the proposal, and we try to line these up with the timing that's best for your organization. If you know that you've got a massive season of events in the summer and it would be best to start in the fall, then just let us know about that. If you go to our website, and this is leadershiplouisville.org, and you'll get all this in an email as well from Joe at the end of this webinar, under who we are, and then you scroll down to how we help nonprofits, you'll find a link to the application form. You'll also find links to information about our programs. Again, if you were ever interested in being a participant, you individually a participant in one of the programs, there's information about that, but also a link to apply for the proposal. So it'll probably take you 30 to 60 minutes to fill out the proposal, maybe not that long. It's not as lofty as some grant applications. There's some big questions about your basic info, address, phone number, contact info, things like that. It's always helpful if the president or executive director fills this out, but if not, you'll let us know who did fill it out, so that we can get back in contact with you. You'll explain a little bit more about what is the opportunity or the challenge that you think you could use a community acceleration team to help you with. We ask, what actions have you already taken? What is your desired end state? And this is a key part. In their work, teams often discover other issues, and are you open to their input if it deviates from the original ask? It is very typical that the team will not just stick to the exact written proposal, because a lot of times there are underlying issues that maybe have prevented you from being successful in that area to begin with. And as they come in as an outside think tank to evaluate the issue, sometimes they might determine there's something else they want to work on as well. So be open to that. Sometimes the best deliverables and the things that the nonprofits rave about the most in terms of the outcomes from these teams is the things that they didn't specifically ask for in the proposal, but that this group was able to uncover and help them with. Okay, so tips for these submissions. These are going to be read by alumni of our organization. It's not, a foundation, people who read these for a living. These are graduates of our programs who read these proposals. So you really got to tell us why your organization is important and why the success of this project is key to you making our city a better place. I will also say, make sure that you write it as conversationally and clearly as possible. Describe this the way you would describe it to your best friend, so that they can get to the issue easily. Focus on the issue or the opportunity, not on a task list. So if you've already got a task list, that's probably not going to be selected. And I will say these are competitive, and the teams do self-select the projects. So you want to make sure you put your best foot forward. Think of the team again like a think tank. If you had a brain trust to come in, evaluate some opportunities with your organization, how could they be of best service? And then also be open to adjusting the scope up or down. Be careful about asking for too much in the proposal, because it might scare them off. So if you say, I need a full strategic plan, we want to be rebranded, and I need you to help my board of directors get more engaged, the probably, unfortunately, that's way too much for them to try to take on, and it might prevent you from getting selected. So really focus in on what do you think they can help you with, but then also be open. They'll probably, in the very first meeting or two, really talk about, here's what we think we might be able to get done in the time frame, and they might slice off a piece of the project. What other documents do you need to provide? We ask you to show us the 501c3 determination letter, submit a letter from the board chair just to make sure that your board is cool with this. Teams that work with an executive director and the board doesn't know about it. Sometimes we have had experiences where the board shuts it down, and that's not good for anybody. We asked for your most recent Form 990 and a recent budget. Now, I don't think we ask for these documents until you've been invited to present. And I'll get into that in just a second, kind of the timeline of how this works. But know that at some point before you work with a team, we're going to ask you to submit these items. So for the current application window, oh God, I've been talking way too long. Let me speed this up. Application closes February 14th. We ask you to be available by phone on February 28th. That's when the selection takes place. And if there are questions, you might get a phone call on February 28th between 12 and 2. So put a cell phone number down where somebody can reach someone and ask questions. You'd be notified by March 27th, and then you'll be invited to pitch in person. So getting invited is one thing, but the teams have to self-select projects. So we usually invite more projects than will get selected. So just getting invited to pitch, unfortunately, doesn't always mean, it means your odds are really good of getting a team, but it's not guaranteed. There's usually an open house. It's slightly different with the two different programs, but we would invite you to an in-person pitch to tell them more about the project, to let them ask you questions, to get to know you a little bit. And then within a week or so, we would let you know whether or not you have been selected to work with the team. Okay, that took a few minutes longer to get through the slide deck than I expected. I apologize for that. Hopefully you guys haven't given up on me. We do have a few minutes for Q&A, and Joe and I will stick around in here